We'll begin with an opening statement, and we'll open up to questions.
Okay, we give Miami credit. Got a good football team. They beat us today, and I don't have a ton of excuses. I think we struggled to produce any running game outside of one explosive. Obviously didn't create a ton of explosives, and then obviously we had a couple key penalties, and then defensively, outside of third down, didn't do much. I do think there were a few bright spots in the kicking game, but overall, Miami outplayed us, they outcoached us, and give them the credit. I do think there are things that we can do better. There's no question there were mistakes made. I do think that we had a couple players that were banged up that you'll have questions about, but what questions do we have? Go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, given the experience and how confident you were in this team going into the season, just how disappointing and surprising was this performance?
Yeah, it's embarrassing, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how our kids feel. We've got a decision to make. I think we have, that's what I just told them. There's no excuses. Keep our mouth shut, show up and work, and we have to do better. And keep it simple. And that's how I feel. And I do think that our players will show up and they will respond.
Where do you think the struggles in defense kind of began? Obviously, Cam Ward is tremendous.
Yeah, no, obviously a good player. I do think that in the first half in particular, we've got a couple opportunities to get off the field. The two roughings were critical. Yeah, and I think there's some missed tackles. I think there's a couple of mental errors. But give them some credit. I think they were efficient throughout the day. They did a good job of conversion downs. They scored touchdowns in the red area. And they had some balance. I think they were able to rush it and throw it. So I'll be able to tell you more. But statistically, they were very successful throughout the day.
Billy, were there signs of some of the struggles that you saw today? Defensively, it looked like you guys had a really hard time in coverage and generating pressure. Were these things that were evident at any point in camp? Did this surprise you?
Yeah, no, I would tell you that, I think that I felt strongly that we would perform better, but I'm not here to make excuses. We got to get it fixed. We're going to get another opportunity next week, and we've got to play better and coach better. So I'll have more answers for you on Monday, but sitting in here right now, I have no excuses for you.
Billy, how's Graham doing?
Graham had a concussion, and he'll be in protocol. We'll give you an update when we meet with you Monday and Wednesday of next week.
How do you feel like DJ did stepping in his place?
I think he did a lot of good things. In particular, the second drive there, we got to some things where he had success through some great individual cuts, some good movement passes, made a few plays with his feet, and I thought the players around him played well. So it's good. One of the positives was he had some success, and we were able to go down and score a touchdown with him in the game. Obviously, he's a young player. But he'll continue to work and improve. He's got a bright future.
Coach, you said you guys have been preparing for Miami for a while. Was there anything you saw today that surprised you guys or that you weren't prepared for? And then with the confidence you guys had heading into this year, where was the disconnect from that confidence to what we saw today?
Well, again, you got to give Miami some credit. They've got a good football team. I think they did it. They had a handful of wrinkles that were new. There's no question about that. But overall, I think the game comes down to fundamentals. It comes down to good communication, good execution. And at times out there, we did not do that. I was surprised, and I do think that we have better football in us. I think that's the message, and I think our players feel that way. I think we got a lot of football ahead of us, and I think ultimately we'll prove over time that we can play better than that. I really believe that. We'll have our opportunity to do that next week.
Coach, I think you guys started 0 for 6 on third down and finished 1 for 9. I mean, how do you evaluate the execution and even the play calling there?
Yeah, no, it was a big part of the game. I think we were 0 for at the halftime. And conversion downs are critical. They converted, they stayed on the field, they sustained drives. We weren't able to do that. And ultimately that contributed to where we were at halftime. So we have to do better. We got to play better and coach better.
Coach, you know how the reaction and overreaction is sometimes to big losses. How do you keep your team from like getting caught up in some of the negative comments?
Yeah, that'll be part of it. We'll have to navigate it, you know, and I think we've got to be men and we've got to show some maturity. Ultimately, if you care about the team, you'll show up and work hard at your job. I think this group will do that, but we can't control that. It's part of the job and it's part of their responsibility to the team. So we've got to manage that, right? It's a big part of what we do, and certainly this group, I think, that'll be one of the challenges that we have going forward.
Was Graham hurt on that specific play?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was.
And then Devin, I think, left the game real early, and
Devin has an AC joint shoulder.
Okay. And then did that? I mean, obviously he was shown flashing well, and he kind of built his body up. How did that impact kind of pass coverage, do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, Jakeem's out there playing, and you know, Asa obviously went down too. But I mean, you know, I think Jakeem was in good position a lot. I think there's some great throws and great catches. You know, and then I think we misplayed a couple of the stacks in the game. I think that's one of the areas that we can get better. But overall, Devin, it makes our team better. If we had our choice, we would have him out there. But we started Jakeem today. You know, Devin's been down for a little bit with missed a pretty good chunk of time with the sickness that he had. So Jakeem's a good player. You know, he's a freshman. He's got a bright future in front of him. I think corner play, you know, was fine today. I think there are other issues that we need to address.
Coach, when you look at some of the performance up front, particularly stopping the run, is that, you know, an issue with some of the strength and conditioning, or is it just technique, you know, leverage and playing with better feet and hand position and things like that?
Yeah, a lot of the runs got to the perimeter, you know, where the secondary is forced to make the tackle. We'll see. It's definitely not strength and conditioning. I think, you know, good sound football. You know, I think ultimately, when we look at it, there's not a ton of explosive runs, you know, throughout the game. I think most of them were manageable. There's definitely some big play passes in the game, and some missed tackles that contributed to some of that.
Coach, obviously there was a lot of optimism surrounding this team in recent months. Obviously, it's going to be hard to come back from something like this, but what would you say are some of the things that you're going to try to do to just keep the vibes positive and just get this team back on track in the coming weeks?
Well, I mean, ultimately, I think it's a little bit of a challenge, right? I think you got to be a man and you got to take responsibility for the things that you can do better. And if you really care about the team, you'll work at it. You know, I think we'll show up tomorrow. The sun's going to come up tomorrow, and we're going to go back to work. You know, I think ultimately there's not much for us to talk about right now. You know, we've got to go play better, and that's where we're going to spend our time.
Coach, off topic, you're revealing injury information. Do you like the SEC's new rule?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been pretty transparent when it comes to injuries. The key is going to be that we standardize it, and ultimately, it's all got to do with gambling, right? So I think just protecting the players, protecting the people in the organization, having a system so that you don't have any issues when it comes to that.
Coach, obviously, offensive lines, and there are times Graham didn't have a ton of time to throw. When it comes to that, is there changes that are going to have to be made to give him or DJ more time to throw, or do you chalk it up to just Miami having a strong defensive line?
I think that when it comes to protection, all players contribute to that, not just the offensive line. You know, I think there's going to be areas where we can separate and get open. There's going to be things the quarterback can do differently. Maybe it's the running back or the tight end that's involved in protection. So I think it's more of a unit thing than a position group thing.
You had quite a bit of convictions about the preseason that this team was widely improved. Is this discouraging at all to any degree to watch kind of how this unfolded and where you guys are at in your first game?
Yeah, I would tell you that I still have confidence in our team. I think we've made progress. We didn't, I think today is disappointing, not only for myself, but for the entire team and organization, and for our fans, for all the people that care about this place. So, like I said before, I've got conviction about the young men that we have on our team. I think we have better football in us, but we have to go prove that. You have to go do that. And ultimately, there's a lot of football left, and we'll have an opportunity to prove that over time.
In regards to some of the smaller details today with tackling and special teams,
special teams, what in particular?
I mean, I thought that you guys were sound today. How would you reflect on just the overall performance from special teams, tackling, and yeah, what's your takeaway?
Well, special teams, I think, is an area where we did a lot of good things today. I thought the specialists were strong. The coverage was good. I thought we made some plays in the return game. So overall, I think we did do some good things in the kicking game.
Coach, I think you touched on it earlier, but there was so much build up to this game and excitement. How do you rebound from this or make sure that this loss doesn't linger with the team and kind of, refocus?
Well, I think it's one of the challenges that we have. I think if you play this game, you're going to experience ups and downs. Right? I mean, it challenges all the intangibles that you work on building with your team. So, I think that it's going to require great leadership, not only from the staff and myself, but also from the players on our team. And I think we got a group that I think will stand up and go back to work and try to improve and do their job. But we got to go prove it on the grass. And I think ultimately we got to take a good look in the mirror. I think as coaches and players, what can we do better to get a better outcome?
Thank you, Coach.
Okay. Thank you, man.